Festive greetings, my name is Tony. Merry Christmas! I'm not saying happy holidays, fuck that shit. Some may say I should be more sensitive to other cultures and aware of what else is happening at this time of year in respect to the beliefs and traditions of other people. To be clear, I don't care what else is happening and what anyone else believes or what they're going to be doing. For me and mine, it's Christmas, for better or for worse, and everyone else can go and do what they want to do so long as they keep out of my fucking road. So Merry fucking Christmas! And if you don't like it, suck my festive balls. How's that for a seasonal intro? That said, what's your favourite Christmas movie at this Merry Christmas time of year? Mine is Where Eagles Dare. Yep, I know, it's got nothing to do with Christmas, but it is the gift that keeps on giving, and I watch it every Merry Christmas season as sort of a tradition, and it's got snow and a wintry aesthetic going on. However, I've already given it a review here, so that's out. Second up would be On Her Majesty's Secret Service, a Bond movie set during the Merry Christmas period and in Switzerland, land of snow, Alps, ski lodges, chocolate and large-scale criminal banking activities. George Lazenby wasn't a great Bond, not as bad as Brosnan in all fairness, but not really a front-runner. Though when you consider his only prior acting experience was a walk-on in a Fry's chocolate cream advert, he did remarkably well. The film in truth is great. The director was Peter Hunt, which is relevant to this video. I could have focused on OHMSS, but it's been done to death elsewhere. Third spot will be Bob Clark's 1974 Canadian proto-slasher Black Christmas. Don't confuse it with the atrocious teeny bopper remakes in 2006 and 2019 respectively. This is the classic, one of the best examples the genre has to offer. Skilled, stylish, noirish, creepy, and in gleefully poor taste by design. What's not to like? But again, a little too obvious perhaps. Then I thought, in a clutching at straws way, what about The Legend of Hell House? That film was set over the Christmas period, and it's a bit chilly around the Willy and other places. Then I thought, well, it has about as much to do with Christmas as an Islamic fundamentalist in a suicide jacket screaming Allahu Akbar in a Texas shopping mall in July. Maybe a little too wide of the mark. We all like ghost stories at Christmas, but this one is a bit too, well, pessimistic. So this year I'm going for Peter Hunt's 1981 Canada set action-adventure pursuit thriller Death Hunt. Now it could be argued that this film has nothing whatsoever to do with Christmas either. Well, actually there is no argument, to be honest, because it has nothing whatsoever to do with Christmas either. But it's got a lot of snow in it and a bone-freezing wintry vibe, and I like it. And I first saw it one Christmas, and that's what I've decided to go with. It was either this or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. See my point? No. Well, that makes two of us. Lee Marvin is one of those American actors who never seems to get due recognition for all the amazing movies he was in. Some of them weren't box office hits, but for a resume, he's got a roll call of absolute stunners to his name. So much so I feel compelled to reel them off just to prove my point. The standouts were The Big Heat, The Wild One, Attack, Bad Day at Black Rock, 7 Men from Now, The Comancheros, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, The Killers, The Professionals, The Dirty Dozen, Point Blank, Hell in the Pacific, Monty Walsh, Pocket Money, Prime Cut, Emperor of the North, The Spikes Gang, The Big Red One, Gorky Park. I would watch any film that had Marvin in it. I even went to see Paint Your Wagon, and that was a fucking musical, a long and tedious one at that. But Eastwood was in it as well, a film with Lee Marvin and Clint Eastwood in it. If it had been a chick flick based on a Jane Austen novel, I would have gone to see it. It's Lee Marvin and Clint Eastwood. What are you gonna do? Charles Bronson, once described as looking like Clark Gable left out in the sun too long, began a career in 50s US TV, Roger Corman B-movies, and then hit it big with roles in The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, and The Dirty Dozen, in which he appeared with Lee Marvin. After taking a lead in Leone's groundbreaking epic western Once Upon a Time in the West, he became a major player in the 70s in movies such as Chateau's Land, The Mechanic, Mr. Majestic, Hard Times, Death Wish, and Breakheart Pass. His forte was stoic, granite-faced hard men with a faintly humane undercurrent, a popular action star over several decades. When a film turns up that has Lee Marvin and Charles Bronson in it, I'm going to buy a ticket. Death Hunt happened along, and that's just what I did. It's the winter of 81, and it was one of the coldest UK Decembers in recorded history, known as the Big Snow. The town where I lived enjoyed a close relationship with the wind blowing in from Siberia area, and it was soon locked down under a monstrous blanket of ice and snowdrifts, which lasted until the end of January 82 or maybe longer. What was showing at the Market Hall Cinema? A film set in one of the coldest, most inhospitable terrains on Earth, guaranteed to make you feel better about your situation. Death Hunt unfolds in the Yukon in the early 1930s, a place of shanty towns, lawlessness, dumb roughneck trappers, people running away and hiding out from whatever shit they did back in civilization. It ain't Downton Abbey, folks, and it's not populated with the wholesome cream of society, rather hair-trigger redneck psychopaths with the intellectual capacity and emotional sensitivity of dirt. The film is based very loosely and extremely inaccurately on the case of the Mad Trapper. Albert Johnson, a man with no discernible history or proven identity, was believed to be a serial killer, stalking and murdering other trappers for their furs and gold teeth. He triggered a manhunt in the Northwest Territories in 1931. There is some fact to this story, but also a lot of myth and inconsistency. Death Hunt reinterprets as mostly complete fiction. Bronson plays Albert Johnson, a taciturn loner who rescues a white German shepherd from death after it is savaged in an illegal dogfight. The dog's owner, a sadistic moron called Hazel Ed Laughter, who is going to kill the dog anyway, is physically restrained by Johnson, who pays him $200 and takes the animal. The mentally challenged and seriously hard of thinking Hazel proclaims that the dog has been stolen from him, and along with a gang of his equally dim and violent chums head to Johnson's cabin to enact retribution. This misguided venture ends with the dog and one of their number shot equally dead. The local law is fronted by Sergeant Edgar Millen of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Millen, Lee Marvin, is a jaded and cynical agent marking time in an isolated backwater with his second-in-command sundog, Carl Weathers. Their days are spent slugging cheap liquor, smoking, playing cards and consorting sexually with a local Native American Indian woman known as Indian Woman, a descriptively accurate if not exactly inventive name. Meanwhile, Johnson meets with fellow trapper Bill Luce, Henry Beckman, an old friend of his father, who warns Johnson that the law will soon be coming for him and his best option is to run. Instead, Johnson fortifies his cabin. Hazel reports the murder of his friend, the theft and death of the dog, and alleges that Johnson is the mythic Mad Trapper. Millen couldn't be less interested, but events coincide with the arrival of a fresh-faced and eager new Mountie, Constable Alvin Adams, Andrew Stevens, and so he reluctantly agrees to lead a posse to Johnson's place and sort things out. Once they get there, Millen negotiates with Johnson that if he agrees to come in and straighten things out, he'll have him free and back at his cabin in 3 days. One of Hazel's imbecile amigos chooses this moment to open fire, resulting in Johnson shooting him in the throat, and a siege kicking off in which several others are killed. The stalemate is broken by the posse blowing up Johnson's cabin with dynamite. This move fails to damage Johnson, who after another firefight escapes into the frozen wilderness. The rest of the film is a pursuit thriller through unforgiving and treacherous terrain, with Johnson running for the border and the posse hot on his tail. There's a lot about Death Hunt that doesn't make sense, and some content that appears utterly superfluous. For instance, Angie Dickinson, in a role that was originally intended for Joan Collins, turns up as a widow who quickly engages in a sexual affair with Millen. She's the only remotely glamorous element in what is a quite harsh and male-orientated movie, but serves little or no purpose in the narrative. It's an almost blink and you'll miss it part, and I must confess I often forget she was in it at all. Her presence is that ineffectual and pointless. There are some good things to make it worthwhile, however. Marvin and Bronson, aged 57 and 60 respectively, excel in what are clearly very physically demanding roles. Most of the filming is done on location and in a very cold, brutal and treacherous environment. There's no CGI and little studio-based stuff apart from some of the interiors. Bronson especially slogs away manfully through the snow and freezing river water. The two men commit to playing their parts and play them well with a certain authenticity. Films like this, with real people in real locations and real stuntmen performing real stunts, were becoming far less commonplace at the time, and some of the stunt work looks scarily perilous, most notably Bronson's character jumping from a cliff edge into pine trees to break his fall. It's good to see these two older male stars taking a last shot at an old-school adventure movie in a time when such things were fast fading from the radar. In a way, it's also a bit sad, because despite their best efforts, there's a sense of things coming to an end, and it feels just a little bit frayed around the edges. One great and resonant moment comes when Marvin and Bronson make eye contact through binoculars. Their tacit expressions convey a purely male understanding of and mutual respect for the roles they play in the world they inhabit. It's cool, very cool. Peter Hunt's direction is economical and straightforward, with no overt stylistic frills or frippery. Hunt could handle action sequences with some flair though, and gives us a great moment when Bronson emerges from the smoking wreckage of his cabin with a shotgun, blasting away at his antagonists like some avenging revenant. Lovely scene. Cinematography by James Devis isn't particularly inspired, but does manage to capture the bitter cold essence of the snowy landscapes, its rugged and implacable mountain ranges, forests and rivers. The screenplay by Michael Gray and Mark Victor, who went on to script the original Poltergeist, although a bit haphazard, provides some wry commentary on the nature of progress and technology. Constable Alvin Adams arrives with a radio set in tow, which Millen regards with a duality of meaning as something else new they've sent us which doesn't work. There is the intrusion of a military pilot who insists that he will be the one to stop Johnson with his biplane. He is met with world-weary skepticism. Despite his confidence and arrogance, he ends up shooting down some of the posse in error and crashing and burning after the posse retaliate by firing on him. Seems some places aren't all that compatible with or ready for scientific advances and civilization after all. Then there's a smart twist ending in which Bill Luce is revealed as the real mad trapper and decides to take down Johnson himself for the bounty being offered. Johnson turns the tables and the outcome is probably the one you were hoping for. I found it satisfying anyway. Death Hunt is not a great film, perhaps not even a very good one, but it is decent, solid and relatively exciting adult entertainment. There's little in the way of character development and Bronson is almost as minimalist with his dialogue as he was in Chateau's Land. But its dismissal at the hands of the critics and audiences at the time of release was unfair and, I think, misguided. If you like Lee Marvin and Charles Bronson, then I imagine you won't be disappointed. They may not be at the top of their game anymore, but they can still ignite the screen in ways that others can only dream of. There's action, violence, it moves at a reasonable pace, and the pursuit is suspenseful and engaging. If you're pining for the great outdoors this Christmas but ain't venturing out for whatever reason, this may well be the vicarious experience for you. Well, that's it from me for this year, and what a strange year it has been. An epitome of that old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. Or, as its update has it, may you live with the continuing threat of the increasing draconian restrictions, illness and death our patented megavirus has bestowed upon you. No, don't bother to thank us. Our gift to you. Our gift to the world. Working from home, drinking a lot, eating a lot, vaping like a train, repeat watching a lot of movies, doing a lot of YouTube reviews, writing some terrible meaningless junk. I've had a lot of stuff to fit in. Just as well I'm too old for sex, really. I'd be on my knees. Or someone would. And on top of that, when I made just one visit to the cinema this year, they killed James Bond. Sorry if I've spoiled that for anyone. Well, actually, I'm not sorry. You need to know. He will return though, apparently, or they, them, those, it will. Don't see how though. You vaporize a character, usually there's no coming back from that. Not unless the Craig era was a dream Judi Dench had whilst Pierce Brosnan was in the shower. Dear God, anything but that. No Bond must be preferable to Brosser pain-facing his way back from the dead. Probably the last Bond I'll ever watch anyway now I'm on the subject. You see, I don't want a black Bond, a female Bond, a gay Bond, a non-binary Bond, a woke Bond. I want a white male heterosexual Bond. Whatever anyone thinks, this isn't racism or sexism or any other ism on my part. Just all that other stuff doesn't appeal to me, my personal taste and preference. I'm not interested in it, never going to be interested in it, and I won't pay lip service to tokenism under any circumstances, because that's what it would be, and as such an insult to everyone, not just the woke flakes and so-called minorities. Now that Doctor Who is also dead, but in a different sense, am I alone in finding it a bit of a shame that all those childhood heroes are now gradually fading away to be replaced by absolutely nothing? Well, there's a Jack Reacher series coming on Amazon Prime next year, maybe that'll be okay, and I did enjoy the first series of The Witcher, so I'll give the second one a run through. But somehow, audio-visual entertainment isn't as wonderful or as magical or as meaningful as it once was. Still, what can you do? That's rhetorical, by the way. I know the answer. And so, very probably, do you. Thanks to anyone who watched, liked, didn't like, commented, didn't comment, subscribed, didn't subscribe. I will rise again. Threat of the season. Meanwhile, here's a song called New Year's Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody. Pilgrims one and all. And fuck Tiny Tim, the freeloading benefits cheat.
streets. The roads were deserted and drab, still as a graveyard. The snow came in sheets to fall on the town like a mortuary slab. The bulbs fizzled out on the tree, footprints filled in on the square. Hardly a trace left where we used to be, not even memories there. I'm going away, I'm going to leave. Can't stand to lose you again on another New Year's Eve. Not going to stay, whatever you believe. Can't stand to lose you again on another New Year's Eve. Dreamers have all crawled away from alcohol's supervised sleep. It's part of the cycle, one you can't break. There's no such thing as the great forward leap. I flinch from the look in your eyes, though you've not even walked in the door. Before you arrive, I've said my goodbyes, 'cause I know that I've been here before. I'm going away, I'm going to leave. Can't stand to lose you again on another New Year's Eve. Not going to stay, whatever you believe. Can't stand to lose you again on another New Year's Eve. I don't believe in old lang syne, I don't believe in ghosts. Ribbons of mist in a dangerous mind symbolize nothing at most, at most, at most. Screamers were soon at a loss, the revelry driving the mad. Cutting my hand on a fiberglass cross, lean on it too hard when trying to stand. I take to the road there and then, behind me the old voices call. You know I'm a clown amongst men, you look on and do nothing at all. I'm going away, I'm going to leave. Can't stand to lose you again on another New Year's Eve. I'm going away, I'm going to leave. Can't stand to lose you again on another